Okay,
Welcome everyone to the Thursday, January 18th, regular commission meeting. Our first order of business is to review the agenda. Being none, our next order is to approve the minutes of the 12/21/2023 meeting. Did everyone hear that? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so now we are going to head right into the hearing for the Valentine Farm LLC proposed subdivision. And this is going to be a major subdivision, and we at present have we have a couple of interested parties, both in person and over the confuser. So I think what we could possibly do is we could start by going around the room and letting everyone know who we are and, you know, what our intentions at this meeting are for tonight. I'm Michael Fowler, I'm the chair of the planning commission, and we'll just go around the table here and just work right through.
Vito Macaluso, planning commission member.
Judy Gilmore, planning commission.
Larry Gergel, planning commission.
Darren Babin, interested party.
David Eaton, interested party.
Kevin Brown, one of the partners on the farm.
I'm Cameron Lepley, Travis's brother and Scott's son, and basically representing them. Greg Butler.
Planning commission.
can you start again, Bob?
Beg pardon?
Go ahead again. We still had one other getting introduced here. You can start the Zoom introductions. Oh, wait,
He can't see us.
wait.
We're in the-
Forgot something here. Sorry.
Am I
Okay,
supposed to
Bob,
do-
you go first.
Oh, Bob Lloyd, planning commission.
Nelson and Betty Jakeway, interested parties.
Yeah, adjacent
Adjacent
landowners.
landowners.
Rainbow Squire, on the planning commission.
Pat Paschalka on the planning commission.
And who else do we have?
Travis?
Travis Lepley, one of the members of the Valentine Farm LLC.
You're
And if you
muted,
can read
Bob.
lips,
You're muted.
I'm Scott Lepley.
I'm another one of the farm.
Thank you.
Okay, so now, you know, now that introductions have been made, we are going to move into the public hearing and, you know, the order of business for this final subdivision application. Would it be beneficial for me to read this out so everyone has a clear understanding of what is transpiring, or?
You can. Sure.
Okay, so we'll just start right at the beginning. This public hearing is conducted in a quasi judicial proceeding pursuant to, we're gonna skip that. All hearings will be publicly noticed in accordance to 24 VSA. As amended, hearings shall not exceed 2 hours in length unless approved by majority of members present. Public comment may be offered during the hearing with the permission of the chair. Such comment, if recognized, shall be limited to 3 minutes per speaker unless by majority consent of the board sets a different time limit. The board shall apply consistent time limits to all persons recognized to speak. The chair shall conduct the hearing in the following manner. We're going to open the hearing by reading the warning of the hearing. We're going to review the order of events, remind all present that the proceeding will be conducted in an orderly manner, and make copies of the rules if need to be available. We're going to request a disclosure of conflicts of interest in ex parte communications, if there are any, or if anyone feels that there needs to be one. Anyone on the board feel like they need to? No? All right.
Some point you need to read this.
What?
You need to read the warning.
There's the warrant, the public notice, okay. Here's the public warning, the Timoth Planning Commission Major Subdivision Application Hearing pursuant to 24 VSA 444. The Timoth Planning Commission will hold a public hearing on Thursday, January 18th, 2024 at 7 p.m. at the Timoth Town Office to review the following subdivision application from the Valentine Farm LLC for a subdivision permit to create 7 parcels / lots located at 620 Route 140 in Timoth. Lot 1, approximately 30 acres. Lot 2, approximately 100.7 acres. Lot 3, 66.5 acres plus or minus. Lot 4, 54.01 acres plus or minus. Lot 5, 27.5 acres plus or minus. Lot 6, 8.1 acres plus or minus. Lot 7, 12.2 acres plus or minus. Dated at Timoth, Vermont, this 30th day of December 2023. Michael Fowler, Chair, Planning Commission. There we go. That's it. Okay. We're gonna go right into question F. Ask all who believe they meet the definition of an interested person to identify themselves and to provide contact information. The board shall not make any determination as to the party status in the proceedings except for appeals of the administrative officer decisions. As these rules do not differentiate between persons with interested person status and those without. Anyone seeking to participate in the proceedings may do so, subject to these rules and those established by the chair. We all understand? Yes? Okay. All right. We're going to accept any written information presented to the board at this time.
Hang on a minute. Anybody that's gonna speak needs to do this little. Oh,
all right.
They need to raise their hand and, the interested parties are gonna have to.
All right, interested parties, everyone who wants to be an interested party and wants to speak, if you so choose to, you're gonna need to raise your right hand and repeat after me.
It's in here in case you. It's on number G.
I hereby swear that the evidence I give in the cause under consideration shall be the whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help me God, or under the pains of penalty or perjury.
Yes.
Yes.
Repeat that.
Yes.
Okay, we will take that as
Okay.
the affirmation. Did we get that from Nelson and Betty?
Yes.
Okay, all right. All right, so now we're gonna accept any written information presented to the board. Probably not.
Well, that's the.
That is the subdivision.
Keep going, sorry.
Yeah.
It's been a while since we've done this.
All right. Okay, so now, since none of the interested parties have presented information, we're now going to invite the applicant to, or representative to present the application or proposal, which we already have here. We have everything that, I believe everything is in order for the last select board or planning commission meeting. Okay, so now let's invite the board members to ask questions of the applicant or their representative, if we have any questions. You guys all saw, has everyone had a chance to look at the
This map arrived today. So members might wanna look at this map. We were supposed to get a PDF, people on Zoom, but we didn't get it. The surveyor's father died this morning, so I think we'll give him a little dispensation. But here's the map and it's got the updated information that you asked for last time. This is the ag overlay, the zoning districts are on here. This is conservation, this is rural residential. The mountaintop zone is up there. There's locations for where the perk tests were done. The driveways are existing farm roads. So I think they did a pretty good job putting everything on there that was requested.
Yeah.
A couple of the lots changed size just a little bit, but not by much. If you want, pass one of these down to. There are 7 copies in case anybody else here wants to look at one. You can share. Can I scooch this over a little bit so I can put this owl back on here? So, look at the map. This is, 140 goes right through the grayed out area there. That's the ag zone.
Incidentally, I think,
For the applicant, but it doesn't explain what's here.
I haven't seen them maps yet.
It arrived this afternoon.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna start going down through the requirement for, number one, we've got the property lines and the lot lines, we've got the location size and spacing dimensions of any existing buildings. I think there's only 1 or 2 that. Which doesn't really pertain to much. We kind of have the proposed use of buildings with the, where in general, the house sites would be.
Yeah, there's a little.
Yep.
House site there, maybe one up here. They're not quite sure where they're gonna go yet. but
We've got the existing streets and and, we've got the driveways, basically, that's what we were looking for.
These little things here.
J is not really applicable. You've got the zoning we've got everything in the zoning districts. Conservation zone, rural residential.
Rural residential, the ag zone.
Phases of development, this is kind of the phases of development, because you're just subdividing it. There's no special considerations given. We've gone through the preliminary meetings. The fire chief or representative of the fire department has signed off on it.
Sure.
No conflict of interest there.
Small town, school board, that's not applicable. We should probably think about removing that, actually. Rescue squad, same thing. Road commissioner, he's looked at everything. We don't need to make a site visit. All right. As I'm going down through here, we are now at the notice of the public hearing, which we've done.
There's another pile of stuff on here. I think that. Yeah, the checklist.
Yeah, I'm going through the checklist.
No, I was gonna pass them out.
Oh,
So that people knew what you were looking at.
oh, right.
Yeah.
I'm down at 8. We've done the public hearing. It's been not less than 15 days. Applicant has provided written notice to the owners of all adjacent property owners. With the description, information. Number 3 is taken care of. Applicant has posted a notice, the zoning administrator is responsible, taking care of that. Public hearing, 45 days before the board has to make a decision. Not applicable. Within 80 days, we're gonna have to, within 80 days, we're going to have the final approved plat to the town clerk. 24 by 36.
While I think of it, did I miss Rainbow telling me that she's an adjoining property owner? So she probably should not be voting on this.
Correct. I'm recusing myself. If that's the
Okay.
right word.
Okay. All right, the date on the plat will be consistent with the final subdivision plat. Yes, we know 3 paper prints of the plat were, where applicable, and a digital copy shall be filed And within 2 years. Okay. So. Does any of the interested persons or parties want to make comment to the board at this time?
I don't.
Oh, I did see that there was a little change on lot 7. It was at 12.2, the last map that I saw, looked like it went down to 11.
0.9.
11.9, so I did see there's just a minor change, but. It doesn't appear to be anywhere near my property line from what I could read off the map. I don't think there's any real change. This one, I didn't know what whether Nelson noticed, could see the map to see that lot 7 went down, or yeah, lot 7 went down just slightly. But that would be my, it's not really a question of this, I noticed that.
Okay.
That's all. So
Yep.
I just stating that.
Do we have any questions for the applicant? Anybody have any questions for the applicant about regarding the subdivision?
Yeah, I have just one question. I might be in here, I'm still reading it. Do you know any kind of time frame on when work, if approved, would start on lot 7?
It wouldn't be in the immediate future for sure. Again, this is the first part of the process. For us, is just getting the subdivision done.
Yep.
And using the existing farm road as a driveway that would service 2 lots down there. And we've got, we've had the perk testing done, and we've got one site that works for lot 7 and one site that works uphill a bit up above where the Capron house used to be. And that's it. There was originally plans for another lot down there, and it wouldn't work. We just couldn't get a perk on it. So that's why that got narrowed, that got brought down to 2 lots in that area instead of 3. That's really it.
All right, so as of now, you're thinking, or you're planning rather, is to possibly do one on lot 7, do one home or one.
That's all,
One-
that's all it's in there for it. now.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, that's all my questions. Thank you.
Anyone online? Anyone online have questions?
No?
Nelson, you're muted.
I think Darren's brought up the points that we would have.
Any final comments?
Are you waiting for a motion?
I would entertain a motion to approve this major subdivision, quite honestly. They've fulfilled all of the requirements that we asked of them at the last meeting, and everything falls within the, the confines of what our zoning is, so I don't see any reason to hesitate. Does anyone else? Does anyone else have a question or?
Well, I
No?
move that we approve.
We have a motion on the floor and a second that
I'll
will, the planning commission will approve this subdivision.
I'll second.
I'll second, we've got a couple of seconds, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Any opposed? No? Okay, so subdivision approved.
All right.
And rainbow reviews, so.
Right. So, gentlemen, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You still have that permit there?
I do. Do I need to sign it here? Maybe with a pen?
You'll sign it, I'll report it, and then you guys will get a copy.
All
Thank
right.
you.
But it is subject to appeal, you know. Any interested party has the ability to appeal, but I'm not on the grounds that you do have that option.
There you go. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I will now hereby close the Valentine LLC hearing because we're done.
See that? We didn't even use the whole 2 hours.
Do you want me to? I can reopen. All right.
Our meeting this week.
So now,
Everybody have a good night.
You
too. Now we're up to the energy discussion.
So I would say, can we take Greg?
Yeah, let's take break. Yeah, does everyone good with that? This is we're gonna skip down to
Let
the,
you come up and sit with us. We can find a chair here. because-
sit in the comfy chair. There you go.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, so I know that Devin came to talk to the select board, it's been a couple weeks ago, about
Months ago.
months ago, about municipal technical assistance. So I'm the one who chose to implement the community assessment for Tinmouth, and that is kind of can be whatever you want it to be, and I'm here to, you know, create and implement a survey or, you know, some kind of public engagement strategy to, you know, figure out what needs may be going unaddressed in the town. It's the program itself that this falls under is meant to facilitate federal and state funding to smaller municipalities in the Rutland region. And it's a state program through Vermont. But the community assessment is meant to be a way of identifying potential projects that then could be funded, but it also could be related to, I know we talked on the phone, you mentioned recreation is a big thing that might be a good focus for the survey. And so it could be focused on that, or it could be focused on the rewrite of the town plan. This could just be a good way of getting engagement and figuring out where people's vision is for where to go with that. And then additionally, the municipal technical assistance program could be used as a way of getting assistance for rewriting the town plan itself. So I'm here today just to kind of figure out if there's a specific direction that would be most useful to use this for, and if there is, then I can make a draft of it and then come back, or just send it to you for review before we actually send it out and do it.
Do you have templates of different surveys that have been used in the past that we could look through to get ideas, or is it something that you generate kind of each time on its own with each town?
I mean, the weird thing about this program is it's very new. So there has not been any other town in the region that has had a community needs assessment, you know, whatever that means, done. So like it's kind of something that we can make up as we go along. And in terms of from the state in the law that actually talks about this, they never really define it. So it's really whatever kind of survey or community engagement or whatever kind of study that would be most useful anyway. Which is, you know, it's a strange law, and it's like the program itself just continues to evolve too. So it's kind of disorganized from the state level, but there's money there for me to be here and here. So that's the bottom line. And I know, Gail, we talked about potentially identifying new recreation facilities or accessible trails, and that could be one route to go.
Right, it's probably gonna be in several different areas, like the planning commission. We did our first town plan in 1974, and we have a list of objectives. And one member has suggested that we list those objectives and find out if everybody's still happy with them. We've had them in every town plan since 1974.
Yeah, that'd be great.
And so, you know, there might be a couple of questions that we're gonna come up with as we review the town plan. You know, what information we think the community should have input on. The recreation committee is gonna have some questions about what kind of recreation opportunities people want. And I'm assuming the select board might have some other broader community needs, figure out what we need or what we don't need, or mostly we need to find out who's gonna give us $1 million to build a new salt and sand shed, but
Yeah. And that is something that resulted from, partially from conditions attached to a different grant. Is that the case?
yeah, we have a grant for that. That was a facetious.
Oh,
question.
okay, okay.
That wasn't a serious question.
Is there a timeline for when you need an answer of what direction to go in from us?
Sooner rather than later would be better. We're hoping to have every project that through the municipal technical assistance program identified for each town that's enrolled in it by the end of the spring. So if there is a project, then that might be something that would come out as a result of doing the survey. So it'd be nice to have the survey out there by like early spring. Again, this is all stuff that I'd be doing. But I want to make sure that it is aligned with something that would actually be most useful.
And so the survey is done. I know we talked a little bit, there's a monthly newsletter that we would mail one to everybody. But I'm assuming there's gonna be some kind of an online component or,
At a storytelling meeting the other night, the planning commission was down with a postcard for a scan for a survey that was on that.
yeah, they're doing the regional
Is-
commission is updating the regional plan.
Yeah. Yes, onto that, but it
So
involves the
we
towns.
could do that too, is. send
Yeah,
out
it
a-
could be.
I had questions on there, yeah.
Yeah, I could table at some events if they're, you know, if it's appropriate for the town. And then also you mentioned doing a potluck event for rewriting the town plan entirely. And I can ask.
I don't think we need to have a potluck. We
Well, we've done potlucks to present people with what we're doing, not to have them help us rewrite it, but for them to understand what's in the plan. We're not changing a lot.
we're
But it is nice to do
95,
outreach.
we're 95% through our
Oh,
town
okay.
plan.
That's good to know.
Where we are at is we are, you know, noodling through the energy section of our old town plan. I'm still trying to come up with, you know, what would go on this survey. I mean,
Well, Bob suggested the question about the objectives that are in our town plan, which I think is, it'd be nice to get that reinforced, just say.
Right, yeah.
everybody reads them and,
do you
you know,
still
are we
agree with
missing
these?
any? You know,
Yeah.
are there any objectives that we need that we're not, don't have on there?
Well, I think that could also potentially open up a can of something. Do we have those? Do we have the original objectives from 1974?
Yeah, it's in the town.
In our plan now.
Town plan, we did.
Well, I don't have my town plan with me, so that was.
I
But
could-
apparently someone else does, to someone else's.
It's right at the beginning, I think. I didn't mean to steal your thunder, Bob, but it's your idea. I wanna make sure everybody knows it's your idea. 1974.
Okay, the vision,
1970.
objectives, all right.
It's the vision. It's under the vision, it's right. Where's the beginning?
Residents of our town gathered for a visioning session to define and focus the direction of the town and this. At the start of the last town plan update in 2012. The following vision represents the input from Timoth residents as developed in 2000 and reevaluated by surveys in 2006 and 2017. and open meetings and hearings. It represents a durable vision of the town and its future. Timoth residents hope to maintain a rural aspects of the town, including active, productive farms, open meadows, and sustainable forests and scenic mountain vistas. Balance the needs of residents for housing, safe roads, good schools, public services, and recreational opportunities with clean water, mixed wildlife habitat, and undeveloped land. Promote a small town neighborly atmosphere by continuing to improve Timoth Center and support civic activities and efforts. It is the purpose of this plan to guide future growth and development within the town of Timoth by providing a framework of planning policies and recommendations which will assure that decisions made at the local, regional, and state levels are consistent with the following objectives. Preserve the rural character of Timoth. And I think that that's probably something that everyone that is in town that would, is absolutely number one. I mean, maintain sustainable agriculture as an economic base that minimizes the impact on soil, water, and air quality. And that actually would be something, we are down to one active dairy farm. And I do think that there, at some point, we are going to have to start having a conversation about, there's the rural character of the town, but agriculture has taken a backseat to, just as we have just, we just did a major subdivision.
Yeah.
On what used to be farmland.
On what used to, it's still going to be
Yeah.
farmland for,
A year or two.
but it is, Timoth has phased out of the agricultural aspect, no offense.
In a commercial sense or in like overall?
Both.
Okay. They're losing agricultural.
But we're losing agricultural land to, development.
We're losing
10
people
years
to,
ago, we probably had 8 or 10 farmers. Now we're down.
You have any ag land under preservation?
Oh,
Lots, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
We have.
East and on.
at the largest, it's like,
Yeah.
Second,
At least
second
a third
largest
of
in
the
the
town
state.
is conserved. At least a third of the town is conserved, and then there's another third that's in current use, so.
But and this is one of those questions that, as the town changes, the demographics of the people in the town that have moved in.
Yeah.
Because it is, and I would say it's probably more people moved in than grow up and stay here. That's just, that is a change, that's changing, and so what their visions and goals of this town may be very different from what is on here.
Yeah.
Right, that's why I think we need.
Yeah.
To ask some questions about it. I don't know. I'm assuming we'll let people involved have a look at the questions
Yeah.
before we start sending them.
Yeah, that's a huge reason why I want everyone here to review them, because anything that is gonna give meaningful information might, by that very nature, also like stir up controversy. It's gonna be something that, if we ask questions about these things, it has to be worded in a way that's not gonna derail a town plan that's already 95% rewritten. Or feel the cause of someone, coming up and trying to, quibble over things that were already, put in place. But this seems like a great direction to take, the needs assessment in, if it seems like a good idea. And I can send the draft beforehand. And if it makes sense, this could be combined with, another section that's focused more on recreation. That's the other component that would be useful information.
Maybe the select board is gonna wanna put something in there that says, hey, should we spend $1 million on the salt and sand shed? Get some input on that need.
That's actually not a bad idea.
It's probably gonna be more than $1 million. I was looking at 2-year bid histories today on the state website. I'm like, oh dang, concrete is expensive. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, construction costs are way up.
The prices have gone up that much.
Oh, it's bad. It's not good.
It was $300. What did we have? We had money put away years ago, I remember, like 20 years ago, 300 grand was gonna cover everything
It was, but not anymore.
and no.
We spent 800 and something on the town garage, so.
Yeah, I was in Shrewsbury last night. After the select board meeting, they're in the same situation. They're trying to replace the salt and sand shed. And it's like the same price range.
Well, we've never replaced one. I mean, we don't have a sand shed. We have a salt shed.
We've got a salt shed that's shared with the recycling, paper recycling, so we can store a storm or two. So we're trying to, think that maybe we want to store more than this.
Which,
storm or two.
quite honestly, like, the select board probably really should have a conversation about all of the recycling that we, offer in the town. We could double the capacity of the salt shed if we eliminate, I mean, we could just direct people to go to Hubbard's to do a lot of the recycling that is in those gaylords. This is a rant on a slightly other topic, but I've been to several dumps in the last couple of days that do not offer as much recycling that Tinmouth offers. And, there is space in that building that, is being taken up by old computers and TVs that, you can just direct people to go to Hubbard's. Like, that's not, I don't think that's an inconvenience. That's a,
Well,
aside.
maybe we can get some questions about the transfer station,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Yeah,
If we come up with a,
Should we be offering as
Something-
many recycling options, or would you rather that be turned into more salt capacity? I don't use the transfer station, so.
few cans of worms here.
Well, the other thought I had is, have we gotten a date when we might get the updated census data from the state? Cause that might open up some questions too. Of, on average, how many kilowatt hours do you use a year? Does it match what the state is telling us?
Yeah. Good idea.
But I don't know when we're gonna get that
So
information.
that'll be a question for Jeremy. The other guy from the regional commission was here last time. But yeah, we could direct some questions that way. How many questions can we have?
As you want. I'm not sure if you'll answer it if it's
It's
extremely
too
long.
long.
Well, so I mean, I'm looking at, our 10 objectives and like, how do we phrase these into, do you phrase some of these into, should we maintain a population consisting of residents and families of all incomes and ages and age types? I mean, I don't think we need to ask that as a question.
It could be like each statement of 1 to 10 scale for it's, or agree versus disagree.
Okay, yeah, I like that.
Right, or put them all here and say, which ones don't you like, check them off. There's probably different ways of
Yeah.
trying to get at the information.
Put them in order of importance.
Right,
mean,
yeah,
To me, like, number one, preserve the rural character of Tinmouth. Like, for me, that is like, that's why I'm on the planning commission, is because I like the rural character of where we live,
The people living here and the people driving through it.
Yeah.
and people move here because.
And
Oh, yeah.
people move here for
For
that
that.
very reason, like, it has a very rural character and, whatever, facet farming and agriculture will continue to play a role. Like, how do we keep that? Because it's the farms that have shaped this area. And that is why people like to be here. It's farming, like, the way that the land looks is a byproduct of the operations of farming. And since farming is no longer there, we are now like, how do we keep encouraging that? This is just in my own, like, how do we keep that rural, like, feeling, that rural nature of this town the way it is, as opposed to, subdivision, 2-acre subdivision.
Probably a lot to do with lot size and things like that, because.
Which, I mean, we have 5-acre lot
Yeah.
sizes, I mean, and I don't think,
Can't do much more than that,
well, I mean, we could, but we have tried in the past and nobody like, it's, the limitations of, the last subdivision, they couldn't get perk tests to do, as many lots as they wanted to. They had to take, 3 lots, they had to turn it into 2 because the soil is just not.
Right, the soils have protected timber over the years. I used to be the sewage officer.
Yeah.
And sometimes we have 25-acre minimum lot size, up on the mountainsides and hills and stuff. And sometimes you need that 25 acres to find a spot.
Yeah.
So the land has protected the town quite a bit.
It used to be if you had more than 10 acres, you didn't need a perk test when I came up here.
For the state, but then the
Right.
town adopted regulations, so you had to follow the town regulations, and we required it for any size. And then the state took everything over in two thousand and
Changed a
seven.
lot, so I mean, it's kind of hard to, predict where we're gonna go, because a lot of this was out of our hands. They could say tomorrow you have to put in a sewer system or something, you don't know.
So that's a start.
Yeah.
We have to figure out how to incentivize getting farmers here somehow. More farmers.
Right, that could be a
Let's-
question, should the town encourage farmers to?
Do you know where your food comes from?
Yeah.
It does not appear by magic elves in the grocery store.
Yeah.
I think having the farms, the farmers markets open, I think that helped an awful lot. I mean, if you encourage more of that, I think, I had, one of the original ideas for the old creamery was, for the front porch, was to put a farm stand there. To somebody who wanted to, put their produce out there and on a weekend. And I think that's one way to keep it rural.
So I can tell you that the new people that bought next to Kevin Ruane, they have milking sheep. And they're gonna have a little farm stand to sell sheep milk and cheese and whatever that is. They live in Danby and they're selling their house in Danby and they're gonna build a house.
We could always make the creamery a creamery again and start make cheap cheese.
The old creamery committee tentatively may get some money from the ARPA. So we might actually be able to do more than just the bare minimum. But we'll discuss that at a different meeting.
Yeah. One thing that at the other meeting, when we had the representative from the Rutland Regional Planning Commission, I looked up, we got a backup email from him about checking where we could find certain information, and I went to that site, I think it's a CEP or something, a new plan they came up with, and there's no information there that tells you how they're going to address the inequities in, the new energy plans. So I don't know what, there's a lot of vague language and nothing that pinpoints any kind of, I don't know if you went
No, I didn't.
further and looked at it. I sent you there was a survey that came from the Rutland Regional Planning Commission, and I was gonna do the survey, and I said, none of it really fits this town. And a lot of it doesn't, because a lot of the suggestions and things that you want, what do you want to see done? There wasn't one thing on there that I thought I would want to see done in Timoth.
Send that
So
again
that's
to
what
me,
you
would
need to
you?
do in the survey is respond to it and say, hey,
Cause that actually is, that's information, like, there's nothing that I want from this survey.
Right.
I don't want anything that you're proposing, that the state would propose or someone, I don't want that
Right.
in this town, right?
Right.
And put that out to, as a hypothetical.
Well, I got it originally from the woman in Danby who does all of the
Annette Smith.
Annette Smith, and I forwarded it to you to see what you thought of it. And I said, well, let me try and take it, because I got a copy of it from the Rutland Regional Planning Commission. They sent it to me, and I looked at it, and I said, I honestly couldn't fill this out, because I didn't see anything, nothing, like 70% of it really didn't interest me, or wouldn't be something I want to see in this town.
If you think about it, send it to me again, cause I don't remember ever getting anything from
Yeah,
you.
but I did forward the email. It was from Annette Smith, and then I forwarded it.
Oh,
to
maybe you did. Yeah, maybe you did send it to, I'll go back tonight
Yeah.
and look through and see if I can.
But
So
I,
that's the reason you need to respond to the survey is say, no.
yeah,
we
well,
don't
that's
want
what,
this.
that's.
They need to hear that.
That's what
No.
Annette Smith had advised. She said that we should do the survey and put a lot of comments in to express our opinions, so that they're aware at the Rutland Regional Planning Commission that we're not in tune with this, to get us things going more in our direction. or
You
more
can-
on
you
what
can
we
take that
want to
back,
see.
Devin.
I will, yeah. Is that the regional plan update survey?
Yeah, that's the original plan
Yeah.
update, yeah.
That's what, would apply in Rowland City doesn't apply in other places in the
So
county.
I've heard that it's more for development than,
Yeah,
we're pretty preserving back here.
it was a lot about home, what do you, the things like homelessness, how do you rate, they gave you like 10 choices, rate these, what you want to see addressed more readily, but it was more into the changes, I guess they're trying to use the changes in Act 250 to get people more development, and they're trying to see which way they could push Act 250 to.
Right, I think what they want to do is have more development, like in Rutland and not out here. There's a proposing to have towns that have municipal water and sewer fill in so that the
Right.
people live in the cities. I taught hunter safety for 30-something years. And one of the trainings I went to had this guy from Germany, who was a hunter safety instructor in Germany. And he said, over there, all the villages are where the people live. And all the farms and stuff around it, nobody can go out there and subdivide it and build something. You have to find a spot in the city.
Right.
Or in the town, because that's where they want all the development. And that sort of sounds like what they're trying to do in Vermont is squish people into the.
Yeah.
and
But that's also
keep
not
them from
necessarily,
spreading.
so that is a German, or a European
It is
concept?
European, because I knew a woman who was she was from Czechoslovakia, and that's how it was there. She said, we lived in the town and we farmed outside of the town.
But we're Americans, and that is a very different culture. So
Yeah.
if you're trying to import a European style town, that doesn't necessarily mesh with
Well,
historically.
Well,
don't have the
I
room
don't
that
think
we
Yeah.
I don't think that's what they're doing, but that was my comment when I heard the legislature talking about it is, this is a concept from someplace else.
Yeah,
Right.
which, I
But
mean,
we don't have municipal water and sewer, so, we don't have to worry about somebody telling us that our zoning doesn't apply, because now we
Right.
have to allow houses on a half an acre,
but just, I mean,
which
just
is what other towns are being told.
just the principle of, like, how this town has developed is because it has developed a certain way for multiple reasons, organic multiple reasons, not, a concerted effort to make people fit into, one box where they
Right.
want all the people to be. And I think that people in this town like the ability to buy a piece of property and put a house where they want to put a house. I think that is something that has a tremendous amount of value to it.
As long as it's not in the middle of the field in the ag zone.
Yes. So.
We gotta keep the ag zone, we gotta somebody's gonna wanna plant potatoes there 50 years from now, so we gotta make sure that there's land to plant potatoes on.
Yeah, I agree. I
I
absolutely
think they
agree.
enhance that though for that's part of the energy program too, is to, bring the people in closer. They don't have to travel so far to go to work or wherever else on that, or walk to the store.
Yeah.
But,
But anyway,
I like the
that's
freedom.
neither here nor there. So you have a kind of a rough outline of what we're thinking about,
Yeah, I
Right.
can, off of what we talked about, I can definitely
you know,
create a draft and send it out to all of you.
send it to us and
Yeah.
then we can look at it we can look at it and maybe tweak it at the next meeting.
Yeah.
And say, and maybe we can come up with some more ideas, if something, more questions that we want to push out to the community about just, development.
Well,
think
would it make Dale kind of like you suggested to see if other committees want to have input into the survey as well?
No,
Typically, it's planning and the rec committee, the select board asks the rec committee to try to figure out what people want before they started coming up with projects.
and this
But
is,
I don't know you can make suggestions to the select board or the rec committee or, even this committee, if you think of an area that needs to be addressed.
but I mean, we're the planning commission, so this is our
You're supposed
wheelhouse.
to be planning, yeah.
That's what we're doing right now, so
Yeah.
we don't necessarily have to have, once you start spider webbing out into, different groups and this and that, like. There's 9 of us here, we can come up with questions, we probably have 15 questions right now. Maybe 20 by the time everything gets said and done, how many questions do we want to give, the public? Do we want to give them 30 questions? I mean, I took a questionnaire for the school and it was long and it was,
I think people get sick of it. You wanna
Look.
be concise as you can.
yeah.
But to Rainbow's point, could you come back for other committees and help with surveys, or is this more of a one and done?
No, he's gonna come to the rec committee, I think.
Okay,
As long as that makes sense for,
Yeah, so this could be, this is a planning idea, and then another committee can have a different,
although I think sending 2 surveys out at the same time, would probably.
Well, it doesn't have to be at the same time, I mean,
We just want one survey that's gonna encompass many different aspects of what we're thinking about.
Yeah, well, that sounds great. I mean, I'll go to the rec committee meeting, which is early February, and then.
Oh,
send out a draft to everyone.
Climate action
And
plan.
I think the select board probably has final say over what the questions are, I'm not sure. I don't know.
I don't
who
think
gets
that that's the
to
case.
decide.
why would they have,
I will
why
send
would
it-
they have? Why would they have, I mean, we have a member of the select board here, but why
Well, I
couldn't,
don't think they would ask any questions, no, but it was just be. I think as the legislative body, they're the ones that should be overseeing it.
well, nobody's going rogue. I think that's just kind of what,
you just can't tell me what I can ask people.
Well, if you have a good reason for having to get in there, certainly argue for the select board if they wanted to take that off. I don't think that they would. I mean, I don't.
Right, I just think that, when you have a 9-member board, like, we can reason out the questions, it's,
Right, but there are other committees in town that also have particular interests that the planning commission might not have a particular interest in. So you can have say over the planning questions, the rec committee can probably have say over the rec committee.
right,
questions,
I'm trying
but
to
the
keep,
Select board should say, yes, let's do it.
okay, all right.
I know, you don't wanna argue with your
I-
mother.
no. No, I don't.
I'll get it in the car on the ride home.
Doors are locked. windows are-
So maybe when you have questions that, or not just you don't have to come up with the questions, but you should come up with a topic of interest that you think we might need more information about. That would be good.
Yeah, and I think right now I have plenty going. And I can take a first stab at it and then, send it out to all of you. That sounds good.
Yeah, that would be great.
Cool.
Everyone agree? Okay. Okay,
Sounds perfect.
sounds good. Sorry. I just,
Thanks for coming out. Nice weather.
course,
At least
yeah.
the wind wasn't blowing.
Yeah.
Yes, it does up here. Most of the time.
Are we going to wait to talk about the energy stuff until Jeremy shows up?
I don't think he's coming tonight. I asked him specifically to come on the 15th of February.
Well, that's what I was asking, are we gonna talk about with him on the 15th next month?
yeah, we can,
Well, we could
I did
spend a
want
few
to say
minutes.
this, I wanted to say this about the Brandon energy plan, which he asked us to look at. The one basic difference between Timoth and Brandon is that Brandon has a population of over 4,000. And Timoth has a population of slightly over 500, maybe 500 and 600. And I think that makes that frames the issues very differently from the way Brandon frames issues. I think, for example, specifically, and I know this is a hot spot with Michael, but the long discussion of the equity issue, I don't know. I mean, I can see Brandon is a small city in a way. And so it has layers of different population, different income population. And the one thing I thought I picked up on the Brandon thing, which I thought was good, was that they were going to make an effort to involve people in the planning process who had not been involved before, who had never been involved before. And I was wondering if we might take a lead or a lead from that, in a sense of that what the questionnaire is doing, would be doing is finding out whether people who have not been involved in Timoth planning, whether there might be people out there who would like to be more involved or have more opinions. I think the equity issue in Brandon has a different dimension than it might have in Timoth. They spend a lot of time, they spend almost 2 pages on the equity discussion in their plan. And I understand why they did it, but I don't think we have the same reasons. I don't know. I don't think we have the economic stratification that the Brandon population might have. But you guys know more about that than I do. I don't know who the
Well,
people.
You have some, you know, you have the penny bouchies that are just barely making it, and you have the millionaires that are a mile away, so.
You know,
There's a lot of in-between folks here, I think.
I think that's true.
You know, I think we may have more in-betweens than when Tom Peters lived in West Teignmouth, he
Yeah.
made a ton of money. So the average income for Teignmouth was really high because we had this millionaire over there. Well, when he moves out of town, you know.
It changes.
It changes.
Yeah.
You know, it could take 1 or 2.
Gotta go
people
back to that old
that makes
thing.
the difference of,
Throw out the top one and throw out the bottom one, and get a much better average.
yeah, yeah.
And I think there is truth to that.
I
Sometimes.
was wondering if we have people at the other extreme that we should be concerned about. People who are struggling economically, who might welcome some attention. Just a question in my mind.
My personal feelings on the concepts of equity would take the rest of this meeting to fill up. And I do not think that it is in the wheelhouse of municipalities to, I think it is a very political question that not everyone in town, aligns with. And I think that that's, you know, when you start making statements, you know, that encompasses everyone in town, I take a lot of offense at, you know, whenever a non-binding resolution is made in the name of the community of Teignmouth. And I think that the idea of equity falls squarely within that realm.
Well, you've said a lot about this, Michael. I don't think you have to say more than you've said over several meetings. My question was more of a question rather than a statement. And as I said, I was wondering whether there are people in town who are struggling economically, who might welcome some attention, or perhaps they wouldn't, but maybe some thoughts.
again, I think that is not in the wheelhouse of a municipality of this size. I think that's not something. I really personally, I mean, someone else jump in here and you
Well,
can,
I was trying to, I looked at the email we got from the representative from the Rutland Regional, and I tried to find. He mentioned to go back to the original document that they came out with. I think I found it in here. I went on the website for the state of Vermont and looked up the comprehensive energy plan to find something that explained how they were going to fix these inequities, energy inequities, whatever, and it's very, they put out a catchphrase and there's no substance. That's what I found. It's like, well, how are you gonna do it? You're telling us there are these problems, but there isn't one way in this document that I went online to read. There wasn't one word that explained how they were gonna fix it. And we shouldn't, I agree with you, you can't accept some kind of, put something out there where you really don't know what it means or what's gonna fix it and how it's gonna be fixed. And I think the legislature shouldn't be putting these slogans out there on documents and then everybody guesses how it's gonna be fixed. Because even when I had talked to our representative, Robin, about, this new energy plan and, and I said, all you're gonna do is raise the price of oil for everybody because you can't tell big oil that, oh yeah, well, you can't do it, we're gonna charge you this. They're just gonna pass the cost along to the consumer. And that was my point to him, but even he couldn't give me an idea how he says, no, we're gonna take care of all the people who are struggling, but they don't tell you how. And that's the problem with a lot of these plans, they write it up and there's no substance to explain. Even on the Vermont, I went onto the Vermont website, looked up the document by name. And went to the section that I was told to go to, and there's nothing in there that explains how they're gonna fix the problem that we supposedly have. And that's kind of frustrating, trying to, that's one thing I came up, because then after I did that, I saw where you were coming from, because I said, well, there's no way to explain, there's no explanation. They want us to put this into our town plan, and there's no substance to what they want to do. Where's the inequity? To explain it to us, put something out there that you can read and understand, and then maybe you could
have
write
a
about it
conversation
or
about it, yeah.
do something, but go and look up that plan online. Cause that's what I did. I looked at his email. He said, cause he wrote in there, you can go to this site and it'll explain everything, and it doesn't explain anything. That's my opinion anyway.
Well, I'm looking at the Brandon plan and I see an opportunity to address that without specifying exactly what it is. They have objectives and then they have policy and they have actions. And I think that we could do actions that would make people feel included and give them an opportunity to be included without calling it what's uncomfortable for us.
Well, if you want inequity, raise the price, put a carbon tax on, and the poor people won't be able to afford their oil.
Well,
And the rich
that's-
people are gonna keep driving their big fancy cars. I mean,
That
that's
happened
what
last
we-
year.
That's what we got
going on now.
That happened
go
last
up to
year
bid.
under the Fair Energy Act or whatever it was that we
Well,
passed.
that's,
You know kind of what's going on with electric vehicles?
if you go back to the email that he was sent after the meeting
Jeremy,
last week from, Jeremy.
It was from Jeremy.
All right, and you go to the website where, look right at it and see, I went right to that section there. There's all this dialogue about, they give it a title, but there's no substance to explain what they're going to correct and how they're going to correct it. And they want you to buy into these things, but what are you buying into? And that's my problem with it. If it was a good plan, I'd say, yeah, let's do it, but I don't see a plan. I just see somebody coming up, it's more like an advertising slogan than a plan. And that's what I get out of it. I don't see any substance. I don't see anything to clarify what they're trying to do. And that's scary.
Yeah.
I mean, I was listening to what you said last meeting and I went back and looked at the email and I looked everything up and I said, well, there's nothing there in Brandon, they could write whatever they want, but I don't see how anything's gonna be fixed and there's nothing on the state plan that explains it either. So that's just I don't, I mean, I think there are ideas we could do to make people feel more included in the town. I don't know if that is a problem in the town.
I would agree. I don't know if that's a problem in the town or not.
Maybe that's one of our questions.
To ask if people feel ostracized or don't
Yeah.
feel like they're part of the community.
I feel there are very specific instances where I have felt absolutely ostracized by other boards, actually. I absolutely feel that way. But that,
In this town.
yeah. Yep. So
How
that's
about
not, that's
put
not
it
being inclusive.
a little more positively and asking, would people like to be more involved?
And how would you like to be more involved?
Right.
We have, I mean, how many of us are on more than one board? I mean,
There's a core group, there's always been a core group of.
Well, so I
Right,
think
if
there's
you
plenty
go to
of
the,
opportunity
when
to
we
be
go to the
involved,
town
we just
meeting,
don't
it's
take
the same
part.
120 people, you go, you know, it's, I mean, it's kind of weird, we had when we had the concerts at the firehouse, the old firehouse, it was always, the group brought the crowd. Because every time I used to take email addresses and send out emails, and if a group from Burlington came, the crowd came from Burlington, group came from, they would bring their own audience. And the amount of people from Timoth that went to those concerts is very minimal. If any, I mean, I think it was just the people who were putting the concerts on and a couple other people, so. It's like, well, if you wanna be involved, how many people in town wanna be involved?
Right.
You know? You can't make somebody involved if they don't wanna be.
There's been plenty of chances to be involved in stuff, but people just don't take it.
I mean, maybe some of it is reaching out, because I wouldn't be here if Andy hadn't said, hey, you wanna try this out?
and look what happened.
I know.
You're on more than one board.
I am.
So I'm going out there and trying to convince Alan not to run for select board. I don't think he has the time.
Yeah, I need to tell him how many meetings I've been to this month alone.
And if that one got canceled,
Yeah.
postponed.
What is the status of the survey?
The status?
Yes.
We have to come up with one,
Okay. We want to do one, is that correct?
yes.
That seemed to be the consensus.
Okay.
Yeah, hopefully we'll have something, this month that we can look at, and then next month we can look at the questions that he draws up for us, and if we come up with any other questions. I mean, other questions pertaining to the nature of development in Timoth. Because we are planning, I mean, we are the planning commission, our goal is to hopefully navigate through planning and zoning for the next 5 years, What is appropriate for the community right now, will be different in 5 years, as it was different 5 years ago. This board had a different I mean, a lot of the stuff carries over, but there are differences.
And it may
That's a
be,
tough one.
once you see his questions, it'll make you think of something else. That would be, oh, let's find out about this, or I don't like that question, what can we substitute for it?
I mean, I was talking with a client today about battery banks, Tesla battery banks and solar power. And the cost of, like, the kilowatt hour cost has dropped dramatically. But I'm not seeing a lot of new solar installations in this area. You know, and it's kind of like everyone kind of, you know, everyone who wanted to go get solar did. And even with the costs going down, the incentives for individual homeowners, I mean, and that may be economic too. I mean, we may be in a point where, you know, people are much more interested in holding on to, you know, the money that they have as opposed to investing in, you know.
I think they're waiting for better panels maybe, or better, I mean, if you get 20 years out of them, you know, it seems like everything that's battery or solar, over the years as they use them, the batteries don't recharge back to full anymore. I mean, I bought some battery operated tools, and I noticed the more I charge them up, the less power. You know, I used to run it for an hour and a half, and now I can't use the saw for a half hour.
Yeah.
And the battery doesn't take a full charge anymore. And I think you're finding out more and more the weaknesses in these systems, and maybe people aren't, you know, investing in it. Because years ago, when they first came out with the solar, I was at the Tunbridge Fair, and this is probably 20 years ago, and when the guy told me what it would cost me to put solar panels up, and I said, gee, I said, I'll be dead when the payback can help it cost electricity. And I think if you look at it that way, because it becomes a liability. You put a bunch of them on your roof, and you go to sell your house 20 years later, and then the guy's got to pay to take them off because they're not working anymore.
Yeah.
And I think I wrote something to, I think the BPIRG or one of those organizations, about getting Green Mountain Power more involved, having more outreach to people about putting up, you know, batteries in houses or empty barns, or, you know, using them for, but I think to them, they just want the electricity, and they don't want the cost of maintaining it and the cost of replacing it. You know, why not, you know, I mean, that to me is my biggest gripe is Green Mountain Power. I mean, we lost like 50 hours without electricity, 2 storms. And it was almost, it was a gimme. I went out and bought gasoline before the storm because I know the power's gonna go out. And yet they never connect the one end of Timoth with the other. And when they put up the cables for the fiber optic cables, they couldn't go underground. They put up like 5 or 6 telephone poles down around where Ruth lives, where Ruth Drackman is. And if Green Mountain Power put another 5 poles up, they could connect the 2 ends of town, and you'd have a loop. So when Danby went down, we wouldn't lose power at the other end of Timoth.
You're on the Danby loop?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's, is that right by Burdens or that quits?
Yeah,
It's right in that area, yeah.
just past Carolyn Burden's, it runs up.
Yeah, cause Caleb's goes underground.
Yeah,
from there.
and it's like, it's ridiculous, because I've been up here since 1978, and, you know, we lose power. I bought a generator in 1990, and I'm on my 2nd generator, and that one's 20 years old, and I'm using it like crazy lately. There's no, you know, I think they want, what I get angry at is that they want us to go to use solar, they want us to use electricity, and yet here it goes out so often. I tried working from home for 6 years, and I had the number for the hotline. I almost had them on a speed dial. It used to go down so much.
Yeah.
You know, and
First year was a few times.
it was like, what, you know, they want people, you want development or you don't want development, but if you want people, you know, to improve things, the Public Utilities Commission doesn't let, you know, when I talked to our representative, he says, when I complained about the power and no cell phone and this, he says, we can't do anything. He says, keep your generator. And that's the answer you get, because the Public Utilities Commission doesn't put any pressure on the utilities to do anything for the consumer. And that's what and they want, what would you do if you had a heat pump and didn't have electricity for 50 hours?
Well, even if you have oil and the power is out, it's not
Yeah,
gonna
you can't
fire up.
You have anything other than wood.
Right, you gotta have a very big generator to run it.
Incidentally, my client, went, same thing. He lost power for you know, the extended amount of time. And he is now researching the pros and cons between battery banks and propane generators,
Right.
you know, and
My coworker would recommend propane generator.
yeah,
He says it turns on just like that.
yeah.
He says it makes his wife happy, so
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
good.
Jim Weatherby at Bill's house.
It's just like, I see a lot of conflict because they want us to use more and more electricity and do that, and if you talk to Jay White, he says that the heat pumps don't work in Vermont. They're not really, you can't use them after it gets to 32 degrees or something because they're not efficient.
Spring, summer and fall.
Oh, no, they,
Go down.
they're,
They're
they
getting
work,
better.
yeah, same client, he has two of them in his house.
Sorry, I'm not feeling super great, so I'm gonna sign off and head for bed. But thank you all for the meeting.
How do you know?
Good night.
Well,
They work, he used it all through last winter. And he actually ended up with a frozen pipe because his furnace never came on. He kept his entire house warm, his basement got cold enough that he froze the pipe.
that's, yep.
But it works, I mean, the technology is, so the Tesla cars, they actually have those in the cars. They actually have you know, they have a little mini heat pump in the car, and that's why they're allowed, that's how they're able to get longer range as opposed to like the Chevy and the Fords, which just uses like an inductive like a resistive load
Yeah.
which drains the heat down out of the battery.
Well, it was a whole bunch of frozen Teslas in Michigan.
Yeah,
So I mean, we got a long way to go.
yeah. All right,
Mr. Chair,
oh, yeah,
there's one other thing under here on. We tabled Jim Harbaugh's motion last month to apply for the WIC grant for regional commission to help us with our EEP. So I don't know if you wanna push that to February.
We can
or
push that to
have a discussion
February.
about it.
let's push it to February, cause Kim's not here.
Yeah, and Meadow or Rainbow was also in favor of it and she signed off, so
Yeah.
it seems like.
So, yeah, we'll wait.
I did invite
I'll be-
Jeremy to the February meeting.
Like those things.
So February 15th will be our next meeting. And we will keep discussing
Energy.
Energy
will
needs.
be there. And hopefully we'll have questions, some survey questions to look at.
Okay. Does it sound like a plan, everyone?
Sounds like a plan.
All right, then I guess we will adjourn the meeting.
Excellent.
Have a good night, everybody.
Good night.
Thanks.
So long.
Well, somebody else up there. Okay. Oh. Good one.
And I'm still getting over being running the generator for so